I've got a size 10 wet fly hook in the vise. I've taken the thread on. It's about 2 eyes width back from the ring of the eye, and that'll be the end of the body at that point. I'm using fine copper wire as a rib, caught in underneath the hook shank. And to keep the body fairly smooth, I'm using near touching turns. They don't have to be touching, but you don't want to make any bumps and lumps in this part of the underbody. The thread goes back to, it's about the root of the barb. That's a classic way of measuring it, but it's the beginning of the bend. So tying in that, it's about 5 pheasant tail heralds by the tips, working my way back to the, forward again towards the eye, back to the end of the body. The herald, I'm just going to wind the herald. I'm holding them, I'm not putting them in hackle pliers or anything. I'm trying to keep the 4, I think it's 4 strands, might be 5, side by side. That's the important thing. If you cord them, if you twist them, that sort of thing, you'll get a much fatter body. And I'm looking for a slim, fuzzy pheasant tail body. Take it forward to the thread and catch it off. A couple of turns just to hold it in place, and then a couple more tight turns to fix everything firmly in place. The wire comes forward as a rib in the opposite spiral. Even turns a rib. 4 or 5, I think I made 5 or 6 turns this time. It doesn't really matter. It's partly to scale with the wire, and it's partly to scale with the fly. And then break the wire, wiggle it until it breaks. This is a single peacock herald. I'm breaking off the tip, so I'm using a stronger piece of the feather fibre, and I'm tying in the core, the centre of that herald. Just draw it back slightly so it fits in place, and then tie it down firmly. And wrap this forwards. It's touching turns. They're touching or overlapping turns actually. And if you just draw the flue back a little bit as you work forwards, it gives you a slightly denser suggestion of a thorax. And again, come forward to the thread. I'm leaving room for a couple of turns of hackle at the eye and then the head, which I think if you were looking at it from the fly tying side, you'd see there's about an eye's width of space there for the hackle and the head. And fold everything back so it's secure, and take a couple of turns on the stem and break it off. This is a partridge hackle, brown barred. I don't mind the brown barring at all. And I'm stripping off the bottom, the fluff at the bottom. The longest fibres are a bit too long. They're about the length of the hook. But because I'm coming in from the tip, I won't be using those fibres. The good side of the feather is towards me, and it's on the outside when I'm pressing it there. Just catching the tip and secure it down. Check that it's secure, pull the stem, fold it back and cut the tip away. Hackle pliers, and I'm going to give this about 2 turns. Quite delicate because that's a thin stem at the tip. The stem on these feathers tapers, so that's why we go in from the tip, because it's thinner there. Now that's 2 turns, and you can see that the fibres that are actually going to be using the hackle are only about the length of the hook shank. A couple of turns of thread to secure it, release the hackle pliers. Now sweep everything back, stem and all. The thread's fanned out, so I'm just going to tighten it up. And I end by going over the stem where it's folded back and pull the stem out, if I can get it. Pull the stem out from the side and cut it away. And now whip finish a couple of times and varnish it. Now I've used red thread for this fly. I could use any colour. Same way as I could use dyed partridge hackle, I could use dyed pheasant tail. It's a good generic style of fly. The soft hackle flutters in water. I mean, these are very mobile barbs in water, and it would be fished slack. You would cast this slightly upstream and let it sort of bob about, let it do its own thing in the water. So I'm looking for neat tying is the main thing, and decent finish. That head should be glossy when it's finished. That's a small head. It's smaller than the ring of the eye, so it's a class as a small head. This is a partridge cape, partridge skin, whole bird. The grey feathers at the neck are the usual ones we target. The barred ones slightly further down are just as useful. I don't know quite why people have got an objection to the barring, but they have. So I've got 2 feathers here just to show the difference in size. The barred feather is bigger, the barbules are longer, and you prepare them by stripping away the fluff at the base. Sometimes the stem breaks. It did when the fly was tying, and you use hackle pliers. If it doesn't break, you can use your hands. It's long enough. And then strip away some of the marked fibres until you reach the stuff that you actually want. Now that's quite long, but because I'm going in by the tip, I'm using shorter fibres. These fibres are tapered, they're shorter at the tip than they are at the base of the feather. This is a grey feather, maybe you class it as a brown feather, much smaller. The barbules are much shorter, and I've got to be a bit more careful not rip away too much. And again, prepare by the tip, just tease them back from the tip, so you just leave a few very short fibres at the tip. That's where you would tie in. That's a prepared hackle ready to tie. This is peacock herring and pheasant tail. Mainly I use this peacock tops. I've got a bunch of them, so I use those for peacock herring. The bundled stuff is just as good. The way I do it, I start with the feather, pull the tip, and where it breaks, it's getting a bit stronger, and that's where I'll tie it in. This is actually a side tail, so you've got proper pheasant tail stuff at one side, and then you've got this webbier stuff at the other side. And both are useful. They're a bit longer, I find, the side tails. They can often be longer fibres than the centre tails.